Race fans, the NSRA Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series welcomes you to Bristol Motor Speedway for some short track action. I'm Andre Grambush, joined alongside Carlos Acosta, doing some double duty tonight, working the cameras and commentating. Once again, it's not the first time you had to do that within this week here, Carlos. And one time, the first time, it was actually on my hands, so I apologize for that. But we're going to have a lot of fun, and should be a good race. 200 laps, that's pretty quick here at Bristol, which means the driver's going to be feeling some pressure, especially given that this is the second race of the chase.
Yeah, it is. We already had a race last week, and taking a look at the standings so far. Unfortunately, I do not have a graphic for you guys here tonight. But taking a look at the standings, Tristan Maher is currently leading them by about 23 points over Julian Tisono. It's a pretty wide gap already with one race in. Philip Scott in third, Justin B. White in fourth, Adam Newton in fifth, and then from there it's Nathan Moore, Doug Neal, Vincent Balvano, Stan Hausenman, and last but not least currently is David Buell. But we got a relatively short field tonight, so there shouldn't be too much of a shakeup here in the standings. If somebody does have a bad race, it's the worst they can finish is 15th. Best they can finish is first. So you don't want to lose too much. You don't want to lose too much spots here in the second race of 5. But still, it's always Bristol. You got to make sure you drive the hardest you can and make sure you're there at the end.
And already, just going into the second race, the chase has been really interesting for these guys because the first weekend, the first race in the playoffs was unique in that everybody seemed to have issues. I mean, everybody in the race, I think, was involved in an incident at some point or another. But because the trucks are pretty sturdy and just the way that track raced, everybody was able to kind of keep going. And it was like everybody had issues, therefore nobody had issues. So the points kind of evened out despite the race being a little bit chaotic. And I'm curious to see how tonight goes. As, like you said, the worst they could finish is 15th. But if somebody that's already high in the standings gets a win, well then that's putting themselves even further up the grid and widening that gap. So got to make sure you don't let that happen if possible. But we've only got about 46 seconds left of practice before we get into qualifying, which should be pretty quick, although I'm curious to see what some of these guys do for qualifying because I'm taking a look at the sky of the session right now, and it looks like there is some overcast here and there. And I could definitely see the track temp fluctuating a little bit within the few minutes of practice that we're going to have. You can see partly cloudy right there. That means we may have the track going down 3 or 4 degrees even, which is pretty big on iRacing. You can get a lot of time as the number 29 goes for a little bit of a ride there. I think he's going to get it going in the right direction, but practice is just about over. But yeah, everything on the right side of the screen, there's all your session info. So you can get a sense of what these guys are dealing with inside those NASCAR trucks. And there we go. Checkered flag flies over the practice session, and into qualifying we go. And if practice was anything to go off of, this race is going to be quite interesting because it seemed like, and this is just kind of going off what I heard on radio chatter and what I was seeing, Carlos, but it seemed like Bristol's racing a little bit different than these guys are used to. I heard a few drivers saying that the lines they used to run that were pretty quick and pretty competitive aren't really the lines they're running today. I heard some talk of having to back up the corners a little bit more to preserve that right front. So it's kind of a whole new beast for these guys to try and figure that out. But we've already got a ton of trucks rolling out. The number 29, Adam Newton. You saw Philip Scott in the 99. He's rolling out. There's Vinny Valvano. These guys are not wasting any time, Carlos.
No, you always want to make sure you get at least for me, whenever I'm driving, I always want to qualify as soon as I can. I know some people like to play the waiting game and see the temperature. Or if a cloud shows up, they can drop the temperature a little bit. But nah, for me, it's just I'm just going to go out there, set the best lap I can, and then if I need to, run some more practice laps during my qualifying session. So I don't like usually waiting towards the end. For me, it doesn't really work out. But it seems like a lot of the drivers are kind of waiting towards the end. We only really have 6 trucks on track right now. 5 trucks on track. And the rest of the field, the rest of the 15-car field is still waiting in pit road, waiting to see if it gets a little colder. But, it's already nighttime. How cold is it going to get?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. It can definitely affect it. Right now on pole, Philip Scott just jumped to the top of the pylon with a 14.94. That's pretty fast for a truck, so you can dip down into the 14s. That's going to be a tough lap to beat. Adam Newton currently second. He's 1/10 back with a 15.04. And Vinny Valvano third. Here goes Justin in the number 2 Grinds Coffee Pouches machine. Let's see what kind of time he can post up on the board as he is rounding out of the corner there, taking his first timed lap. That's going to put him third place on the pylon. Not bad. Let's see what lap number 2 is going to do for him. Rounding 3 and 4, which is the wider of the 4 corners. Crossing the line again. Does he improve on his time? By 1,000th.
Bristol's such a very small technical track. It's got large, wide banking, but it's still something you're going to go around very quickly, under 15 seconds. Their current leader, Philip Scott, our current pole sitter, has ran. So there's really not much room for error. A lot of the lap times, they're all going to be very close in terms of just how off they are between first and all the way down to like maybe 10th. But still, just whatever little mistakes you do, you hesitate a little bit, get a little too tight, get a little too loose, and that's going to pretty much be the difference between you starting the pole and then you starting outside the top 10.
A lot of drivers posting times. I said that Philip Scott's lap time was going to be tough to beat. Well, somebody just did. Tristan Maher in the 17 beats him by 4 thousandths of a second. I'm sorry, 3 thousandths of a second, even less between them. Jeff Price only 2 thousandths behind Philip Scott. So our top 3 currently separated on the pylon by less than 1/10 of a second from first to third, actually all the way back to fourth. Martin Plute nearly tying Jeff Price's time with a near identical lap. So, man, these guys are so close in qualifying time. And I know it's a short track, so sometimes you'll see that, but that is really impressive either way. 10 cars have posted a lap so far, and even the last car on the pylon right now, P10, is only 2/10 back, which is not a whole lot of wiggle room there. As you have Vinny Valvano in the 971. I think he's just making some practice laps. I'm sorry, that's Nate Maurer in the 971. He's making his practice laps at this point. He has already posted his time, but tell you what, Carlos, anytime you can get a few extra laps in, especially right before the race, get yourself warmed up, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I usually tend to do most of the time. I do feel confident enough to be able to continue without doing mock practice laps, but I just stay out on track, just relax, have some fun. 11 drivers have posted in a qualifying lap, and so far 12th and back, including Jeffrey Mathis, John Flamion, Robbie Clavey, or Clave, I apologize, and Scott Tompkins, Stan Hauseman. They each have not posted a lap yet, and none of them are actually even on track, it appears. So whether they're waiting for the last minute or they're choosing to not qualify, we're not going to find that until later. As Stan Hauseman, I believe, has gotten on track. Yeah, he's pulling off right now. But you were talking about how close it is throughout all the drivers that qualified, and we're late in the season. This is the second race of the playoffs, second of 5. So we have, after this, 3 races remaining in the season. Unfortunately, people tend to not show up late in the season, whether it's they're just done racing, they're not they're not enjoying it, or they're out of the playoffs and they just don't want to continue. You're usually stuck with a smaller field, but the field that you're maintaining during that part are containing very committed drivers who really want to give it their all and to have fun and to be able to just show up week in and week out just because they want to and they love it. And so usually those are drivers who are going to race the cleanest, and that's why towards the later end of a season you're going to get smaller field counts, less cautions, and usually better overall racing.
I agree 100%. You get into the playoffs and it kind of whittles the field down to just the most competitive amongst the field, and or at least the most dedicated. And you see timings like this where we have numerous tied laps on the board. Again, Jeff Price just barely getting ahead of fourth place there, near identical laps. And I should point out also Nate Maurer's lap that he posted earlier got him up into 5th. So he'll be starting in the top 5, presuming nobody else goes out and makes a lap. But, some of these drivers that haven't posted a time, I got to think it's probably, we'll call it an executive decision. Because if you don't feel confident that you can get the pole and start out in front of the chaos, sometimes the next best thing is just to be in the back behind the chaos and give yourself a chance to escape whatever happens. But if you qualify, let's say 7th in a 15-car field, well, that's about the worst place you could be, because at any given moment, you could have a wreck in front, you could have a wreck behind, and either way, you could get involved and You just kind of have to really be on your A game and watching your surroundings very diligently. And if you're out back, you can just kind of chill out back, let the field do their thing. And if something happens, well, you got plenty of time to react to it. And I think when we get into the playoffs here, that mindset's going to be really prevalent, just being safe and being consistent, because especially when you only have 15 trucks in a field, you can start out back, you can keep yourself safe. And later in the race, once the attrition is kicked in, once you've got some drivers going down pit road, having issues, whatever, you're going to slowly work your way up. And even if you only make it up to fourth or fifth, still a better points day than a DNF. And now is not the time to be giving up points. I think even in this format, the most consistent drivers are the ones that get rewarded. So sometimes playing it safe is a good call.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Already 2.5 minutes remaining here in qualifying for the Simbox 200, but nobody else wants to get out on track right now. It's going to be all nice and calm, and well, this is not the first time I've covered a Bristol race here in the NSRA series, and well, the last time it happened was when I was still starting to kind of experiment with SDK, and since then I've fully left ATVO in favor of SDK, and then I have temporary graphics and other redundant forms of tickers and telemetries in case SDK goes down. And usually I've noticed that SDK doesn't really work with qualifying. But during that time, we had a very classic moment of when I discovered that SDK liked to shorten drivers' last name to their first three letters, and we had the classic battle of P versus Poo. I couldn't remember who the drivers were, but that was a classic battle. That's like the first things I remember when I think about SDK. And it was a pleasure to broadcast that race for Peter. And Peter right now is in a cousin's wedding, so he's enjoying himself, surrounded by family. So hope you have a great time, Peter. I think he was in a chat earlier. But yeah, so he'll be back next week, and he'll be back to your regular scheduled Peter voice and Peter producing. But for right now, you have Carlos and Andre. Well, Andre's been here regularly, but it's been a long time since I've covered a race here for you guys. But it'll be a pleasure here tonight. And with less than a minute to go, Andre, I'm looking forward to this fun race here at Bristol.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun to watch how this plays out, because sometimes, you know, the guys in this league, they surprise you. You look at a track like Bristol, you think, yeah, it's a short track race, and there's going to be a lot of incidents, and there's going to be a lot of cautions, but sometimes these guys manage to stay almost obscenely clean. And I'm curious to see if they can maybe have some long green flag runs, and if they do, which I'm kind of banking on, it's going to be interesting, because from what I've heard, the tire wear here is brutal, and especially in turns 1 and 2 being a little bit tighter, the truck gets real tight and it becomes a real challenge. And I think the funnest races to watch are the races where the vehicle is challenging the driver, putting it in their hands and saying, all right, it's up to you to post the fastest laps, to do your job and go out there and get the win. And we'll see exactly what happens. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're going to have a rash of yellow flags, and then it's going to be up to the drivers to get good restarts. I always love that camera angle right there, kind of showing that fenced in victory lane. Kind of iconic for Bristol there. But there we go. Qualifying is over. So give me 1 minute, and I will pull up the qualifying results on the pole.
No, hold on there, buddy.
Oh, do we have a graphic for that?
Yeah, we sure do. You haven't even given me a chance. It hasn't
I
been
kind
that
of
long since we worked together. It's got the grip music playing.
We will pull up the graphic. There we go. Tristan Maher on the pole. Philip Scott P2. Jeff Price is third, posting an identical lap to Martin Plute. I don't know how the simulator decides who got the inside and who got the outside there, but either way, Jeff Price wins that tiebreaker for the inside row to Martin Plute outside. Nate Maurer sneaks into the top 5 with his run there in the 971. To his outside is going to be Justin White. Doug Neal in the 77. He was fast in practice, dropped off a little bit in qualifying. He's going to be P7. Adam Newton to his outside in 8th. Vinny Valvano and Dominic Tesoro are going to round out the 5th row. Carlos?
Yeah. In 11th place, Travis White. Scott Tompkins going to qualify tonight's race in 12th in the number 888 machine. Moving on to the next set of drivers. 13th, Stan Houseman didn't get a qualifying lap. Robbie Clave, I apologize. In 14th, Jeffrey Mathis, 15th, and John Flemion will be starting tonight's race out in the last position. I'm seeing every driver has gridded up except for Scott Tompkins. He has not actually gone into pit road quite yet, so he may have missed the driver's to your car announcement. But I'm sure he'll probably be getting on track here very, very soon.
I believe Tompkins is race control. I'm not certain.
That would make sense with him being the 888 car.
Yes,
you bring up a very good point, dude. There's the rub. So yeah, you're not gonna see him out on track. There's this amazing broadcasting group, 10-4 Productions, on YouTube that I watch every once in a while, and I notice that they always have their race control actually called race control in iRacing. So every single day, I see them always last in their tickers and their standings, and I'm like, every single week I root for race control, and every week I'm left heartbroken.
Well, maybe one of these days there will be an issue so severe that race control has to just get in the truck and settle it themselves. Want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. We're gonna enforce the rules. Somebody doesn't want to come down pit road, serve their drive-through. Well, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna force them down pit road.
It's a good part. Oh man, well, we got 1 to green here. We're gonna be starting off our 200 lap. Remember, not 200 miles. 200 lap Simbox 200 event here tonight at the famous Bristol Motor Speedway, the last great colosseum.
That it is, and we're coming down the back straightaway. Should be going green this time. Again, it's going to be Tristan Maher on the inside and Philip Scott on the outside. Now, I actually don't know which lane is going to be preferred, especially early on here. You would think it's going to be a little bit like classic Bristol, where the bottom is going to be pretty fast, but I know in practice I was watching these guys start to rip the top as their tires started to age, so we'll see exactly what happens. But there goes the pace car, hard left turn down the first of 2 pit roads. And Tristan Maher, our pole sitter, spins the tires, and that allows the 99 to get the advantage, but it looks like he's going to immediately give that up. The 17 is going to slide in front. Not quite clear as they go into 3 and 4. Philip Scott rocking that high line, not quite as fast. That's going to slot him into second as yellow flag flies. Oh, the 23 involved. No, the 73, I apologize.
Yeah, a couple
Robbie
drivers
Clay. Oh, there's a
involved,
lot of trucks. Stan Houseman, Jeffrey Mathis, Vinny Valvano, John Flamion, Doug Neal also involved, the title sponsor of this race, unfortunately, getting caught up early on in that 77. Taking a look at the replay here. Not sure who it started with. Oh!
Neal.
Looks like the 77 got a little loose. Vinny Valvano got into the back of him, and it was just pandemonium trying to avoid him from there. That's how quick it can happen riding on board with, is this Valvano or Nate?
This is
I believe this is Valvano.
There. Oh man, it looks like Neal just maybe had too much rear brake. Because I don't think he was under pressure or had to hit the brakes in front of the, to avoid the person in front of them. I just think maybe too much rear brake to start off this run with the cold tires. And it just ended up going around. And unfortunately, the rest of the field really couldn't do much to get out of the way.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It really did look a bit like a weight shift. He was getting on the brakes, slowing down, and then that rear end just snuck out on him there. And then, man, oh man, what a hit to Valvano. That's probably going to be some decent damage to the driver who tagged him. But again, so hard to... In that situation, you've got cars scattering everywhere. And unless you are as eagle-eyed as they come, it's hard to avoid. But again, gyro cam on Mathis is going to happen right in front of him. You see the 77 getting loose down the way.
Oh man!
Ah man, just yeah. What can you do there? You've got cars everywhere. You just kind of have to pick a line and commit to it. And unfortunately, that commitment maybe not the best one.
Very unfortunate to start the race with. Bristol's usually known for a lot of cautions, and usually a lot of cars or vehicles involved in that caution. But because of that, we already had a lot of drivers going down pit road. Let's see. I can't trust my pit lane timers because okay, there we go. So far we've only had 3 drivers down pit road, so I'm actually a little surprised. I would have expected to see 4 or 5. Well, there's the 4th one, but I would have expected to see a little bit more because of all the drivers that got caught up in that incident. But seems like some of them just want to stay. You know, it's Bristol. You don't need all that fancy smashy aerodynamics on these cars.
Nah, who needs aerodynamics? They just hold you back. I mean, Michael Waltrip, my favorite driver, that's how he got his truck win at Daytona. Just ripped that spoiler off, and suddenly he was up like 20 horsepower. So maybe the same philosophy here at Bristol.
What was it that one of those owners in Ferrari used to say about downforce?
I don't know.
I think it was just something because they don't have a good engine. Can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
I was hoping that you would know that. Oh man,
no,
I took a risk and it did not work out.
Yeah,
I know it had something to do with them
you threw the ball to me, and
yeah, as the alley oop, but you were still half court.
You threw me the ball, and it just went right over my head.
All right, well, we're gonna be getting our first restart of the night. We saw Maher, our pole sitter, choose the inside lane and spun his tires starting the race. 99 briefly got the lead, but by the time we got off of 2, 17 was back in point. Switch around those positions, pace car is off, and the 17 is going to be restarting. First on the outside line, no problem for him, as he's already clear before they even reach the start-finish line.
Yeah, he got a much better start. I think he used lessons learned from that first initial start. He spun his tires big time when this race first got underway. Right there, did not make the same mistake twice. He was able to get back out front, getting a decent lead over Philip Scott so far. Martin Plute challenging the 99 actually gives him a bit of a shot there coming out of the corner. And Martin Plute himself is being pushed by Jeff Price, who, again, really fast in qualifying, so a very competitive top 4. I also apologize if I'm cutting out. My internet is deciding that it's going to have random lag spikes. So that's not very convenient, but we will apologize in advance. We go side by side for second place. Look at this. Martin Plute on the high side makes a pass. Didn't see that coming. Kind of expected the bottom to be the place to be, but that number 8 is working that top line. He actually gained 2 truck lengths on the leader. He's going to take the run down to the bottom now. To the lead goes Martin Plute. What is this guy doing? Nobody else can run the high line, and here he is picking up 2 positions in 1 lap.
Yeah, and he ended up using the high line and the low line to his advantage as number 8 of Martin Plute has the race lead. 17 of Tristan Maher thought about going to the inside, using a little switcheroo there. Didn't quite work out for him, as now Maher is down to second permanently, or at least you say for sure this time by, is Martin Plute is your brand new race leader. Because the first
That's a grim outlook.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I didn't mean it like that.
Nah, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, he's challenging for it, but I'm not sure he's got the speed down low. It really seems like that high line is a little bit quicker right now for that number 8. And obviously, with this being a fixed setup league, everybody, they're running the same equipment. If the 8 can be fast up top, really everybody can be. So I'm wondering, Carlos, if these drivers who are sticking to the bottom are doing so to preserve their tires. If they know that, hey, if I run the top and I'm going 10 mile an hour faster through the corner, that's going to eat my stuff up. So I'm going to try to back it up, take it to the bottom, and then in the long run, it'll pay off. We'll have to wait and see.
Look, maybe not. 17's already looking back, not inside the 8. Didn't work out this time by. But it could also just be what you were talking about earlier with the way that these drivers have to attack the corners and how they approach this track overall may have changed compared to how it was in the past. I recently ran a next-gen car here, Bristol, last year, half a full-length distance, about 50%. And I gotta say, pretty much everybody was running the inside lane, with some people driving the outside lane for a very limited amount of time. So it's changing. A lot of people are liking that inside lane now compared to the outside line. But we'll see what these trucks can handle this time by them.
I am noticing Maher is getting a little bit loose on exit, and that's a problem that the 8 has not faced, at least since I've been watching. And so I got to wonder if maybe the top is the more stable line, and that's why he's up there. I don't know. We're just kind of trying to figure out what they're doing as we go. But either way, it is surprisingly equal. I mean, this battle, Carlos, has been going on for lap after lap. When they go through the corner, the 17 gets a little bit of a run. As they come out, the 8 gets back out front, but they're not really driving away from each other. They're sticking with each other, bumper to bumper. And so top line, bottom line seems to be all right either way. Now, the 17 did take the high line there, and he actually lost some time, about half a car length running the high side. Going back to the bottom, though, looks like he might get it back. So this is really interesting to see. Usually Bristol is one line or the other, but not tonight.
Yeah, it's weird. I gotta say, usually I am used to what you were talking about, seeing the drivers up on the outside line, and it makes it hard to pass. But early on, we've already been seeing some pretty nice passing on the low line, the outside line, and somewhere in between. And the way it keeps on going, it might be pretty cool to see what these guys can do on older tires.
Speaking of passing, Philip Scott on the low line just got passed by Nate Maurer in the 971. And immediately after that overtake was made, Jeff Price and Dominic Tesoro followed suit, got around him on the high side. So Philip Scott, in a matter of a lap and a half, just went from third all the way back to sixth, which was pretty disastrous, but it almost looked intentional. He didn't fight very hard. He wasn't pinching the other drivers when they got up alongside him. He just kind of rolled out of the throttle and let them have it. And I know that last weekend, Philip Scott ran a pretty conservative strategy, and it worked out for him in the end. So maybe trying to capture the lightning in a bottle twice in a row as another truck goes by. The 64, Vinny Valvano, taking advantage of that high line. He's going to truck right by, no pun intended. So, man, very strange sights as Philip Scott plummeting down the running order. And we do have a car on pit road. I believe that was that Mathis trying to get some damage fixed?
Yeah, that's Mathis that just came back down. All the drivers that were involved in all the incidents so far, did get back out on track, except for Mathis, who went out and then immediately came back in. And it seems he has taken his truck to the garage. So the 06 of Jeffrey Mathis may already have an early exit here for tonight's Simbox 200.
Unfortunate to see. I think he may have been down on horsepower. Sometimes, if you're not sure, you go out, you make a few laps, and you find out, yep, this thing's not on pace, and then you just kind of have to make a business decision. Do I want to make 180 more laps, 30 horsepower down, or do I just want to call it a night, go get some Taco Bell and some Mountain Dew, and just watch the rest of the race on TV? And oftentimes the answer is, yeah, Taco Bell.
Been a hot minute since I had that. I heard the Mexican pizza's back, so all you Mexican pizza lovers, that's back on the menu. I'm not sure if it's permanent or temporary, but Maher sure tried to prove me wrong when I said that he was second permanently, as he's constantly challenging the number 8 of Martin Plout for this lead position. But so far, Plout's been holding off on that outside line, showing us the old ways of running the outside line. Low tires appear to still be working.
This battle for the lead is interesting, but let's rewind here a bit, Carlos. Are you telling me that Taco Bell is selling a pizza?
It's not a pizza. They just call it the Mexican pizza. I think it's like their tortilla thing, and then they have like ground beef, and then another one of those tortillas, and then on top of that they have like cheese and like red sauce on top. It's not really a pizza, but they call it that.
So it's like a flat taco salad.
I've never had it, so I've only seen pictures of it.
It sounds interesting. I may have to try it. But as we get back to the race, and I stop thinking about food, Maher puts the bumper to the number 8. He's going to get him a little bit squirrely through the corner, but it looks like Martin Plout was able to hold on. For how much longer, I don't know, because that 17 truck has really come to life, and I think his patience is wearing thin. He's practically pushing Martin through these corners right to the top of the corner there. I thought the number 8 was destined for the wall, but again, he was able to keep it off the wall. 17 dives down low. He's trying everything, Carlos. He's trying to run up high, trying to run down low. I think he feels like he's got the faster truck. It's just a matter of how do I make this pass without straight up dumping the guy, you know? How do you do this clean? And I think the answer is you just got to wait. At this point, it's a waiting game. When is he going to mistake? When is... Oh, big blink. I'm not sure if that was me or if that was Maher, but for a minute there I lost visual on Maher. But yeah, no, it's a waiting game. See when they make a bobble, and when they do, try and capitalize.
And yeah, so far that battle's kind of staying the same. Maher can catch up a little bit, but then he ends up dropping some more time to Plout, and it's just rinse and repeat. But towards the back over here, it seems it's a little more closer than the rest of the field. As we saw Stenhauser, Travis White, Vinny Pavano all kind of racing together for a little bit, and then we also saw a couple other trucks slightly ahead of that, kind of almost going 3 wide for some positions.
Yeah, a lot of battles throughout the track. Again, a pretty small field, but with how close everybody was, really anywhere you look on this track, you're going to be seeing some good battles. Number 17, again, diving it down low, and he can gain ground down there. He can pull up alongside, but as soon as they get to the corner exit, that extra momentum carried on the high side just pushes that number 8 back out front. Again, right there, he gets to the quarter panel. He's not going to be able to hold it as he does close in a little bit. It's just so tough. It looks so difficult to pass out there. And I know as a driver, that's probably the most frustrating thing, is they're actually going to be into some lap traffic here momentarily. And this is interesting because the 17 is closer than he's ever been. He's able to pull up alongside and stay there. There goes the lap traffic down to the apron. That's not a situation he wanted any part of. He saw the leaders side by side and said, yeah, no, you guys sort that out amongst yourself. And off the track, very quick and respectful move. Gotta love it. 17, man, oh man. I almost thought he was going to get it there, Carlos. He got to the hood. He was right alongside. He held it there for a lap and then fell right back.
He's got to be a little frustrated now. I don't know if Maher allowed Plout to just get by him when he saw that Plout was just taking off much faster than he was, or if he legit just got passed by that 8 truck. But either way, I'm sure he just wants to get ahead of him now as Plout smacked the outside wall a little bit.
Oh.
I think that's going to be it. The 17 might be able to clear him next time by. We'll see how the 8 is going to handle this next set of corners. Are the 17 going to block it? He sure will. Brand new race leader, the 17. Well, not brand new race leader, but leader once again, 17 Mayer.
I said it was a waiting game. Wait for the mistake and capitalize, and that is exactly what Tristan Maher did. The 8 just got a little bit tight, scraped the wall, didn't lose a lot of speed. I mean, he might have scuffed 5 mile an hour off of his corner speed, but that was enough. 17 was able to clear him just barely into the next corner, and now I think we're going to see him drive away. That truck was fast. It was really good on the long run. He did a great job with the tires, and yeah, you can see right there just rocketing out of that corner.
That was a beautiful drive off. Textbook corner execution by Maher there that last time by, as you were saying that he may be driving off. He sure did that time by. But taking a look at the fastest laps and then the last laps that we're seeing, a lot of the drivers, they're starting to slow down. Not fully to the 1 second yet, but they're well past half a second at this point. Some of them are 7 to 8, even 9/10 of a second slower from their fastest lap of the race. So we're getting close to the point of maybe should we consider pitting for tires? And the question is, how far can they make it on fuel? Because they also have 75% fuel compared to a full gassed up NASCAR truck. But 75%, they're not going to be able to go as much as we'll see the real life guys go. And the question is, when do you pit? You got 200 laps of this. If you can make it to 100, would you do it, or would you like to split it and maybe hopefully you can kind of cut that time difference with the fresh tires?
Well, Bristol is a track that leaves you with a lot to consider, because on one hand, even with a 75% fuel capacity, I think that these guys should be able to go about 100 laps. I think they can make it to halfway, and they could make it a one-stop. But the tires are a different story. So the tires are already starting to fade. You saw that it was about a second off of their fastest laps is now their average. So they were running 15s, now they're running 16s. And that's a lot of time that you are losing every single lap. And given how short this pit road is, pitting is pretty quick. So you're not losing a lot of time coming down pit road, but what you are losing...
Hold up. I like to remind you of that long, thin blue line that's across turns 2 and 3.
Oh, are they doing the single pit road? Okay, I thought they were doing the dual pit road.
Take a look at this, my friend.
Oh boy, okay. I thought they were doing the other layout where you can just go down the pit road that you are assigned to. Okay, so that changes things even more. You do lose a lot of time. And, as I was going to say, either way, you lose a lot of laps. And, I mean, listen, we here at the NSRA Stay Tuned Truck Series, we like to give out our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Awards, but I don't think we got enough of them to give out if you're 10 laps down from coming down a little bit too early and a caution comes out. So I think staying on the lead lap is going to be paramount for these guys.
I thought you were gonna continue talking. I was like a couple chugs into my glass of water, and you caught me unawares. But no, and we also already have a couple drivers 1 or more lap downs. If you go down pit road and you find yourself 3 laps down per se, that's kind of a little on the safe side. You're probably gonna find yourself a little bit more. But you're 3 laps down. Caution comes out. Well, guess what? There's 3 drivers in front of you that are ahead of you in position and in laps. So in order for you to get a lap back on the lead lap, 3 laps down right now, pending that no other person goes a lap down since then, you're gonna have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of cautions before you're gonna get that chance to get yourself 1 lap down. And then you're gonna need 2 more to get yourself back in the lead lap. So that's 6 cautions overall you're gonna need to get yourself back in the lead lap. But the way these guys are going, I don't think we're gonna hit those numbers.
Yeah, it's been a very clean race. We had that incident early on, and now we are right back to this long green flag run, what we usually kind of expect out of these guys. I've said it before, I'll say it again, probably the cleanest truck league I've ever not only commentated, but ever watched. These guys are really good at these long green flag runs, and
look at this battle
just
for
keeping
second with 3 drivers.
A calm head on their shoulders is, even in this situation, like you're pointing out this battle for second, 3 drivers duking it out. These guys are driving hard.
Sorry.
But they're driving respectful, and so you can't always bank on those cautions. And so to go back to the strategy, I think trying to split it down the middle, if they can make it that far, which don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure what the 70% capacity is capable of, but if they can split it in the middle, that would be the ideal strategy in my mind. That's what I would do if I was in the car. But you know, we all know that there's a reason I'm in the booth and not in the car. I tried the whole driving thing and didn't work out too well, so now I'm up here.
I like to think I do decent when I'm driving. Definitely not championship contender. No. I missed that window a long time ago. Now I have a job, so I can't just stay home and practice every single day. But oh man, it's always fun to drive, and that's kind of why I kind of moved on to broadcasting, where it's just fun to see other people drive, and seeing some of the amazing battles. And Andre, we've seen some amazing battles.
Oh yeah, right now, and we just watched the 99 work on that number 8 truck lap after lap, finally making the pass. And you know, I asked earlier, is Philip Scott just intentionally dropping down the order to save his tires? I think that's exactly what he did, Carlos. He went from 6th all the way back up to 2nd, and he's about 3 seconds back from Maher, who, I mean, to his credit, must have also been saving his tires, following the leader for so long, because a 3-second gap at Bristol in a relatively short period of time, there's the lap time differential. Only 1 lap in the last 5 where Philip was any faster than Maher, and even then it was only 0.02 of a second, negligible amount of time. Every other lap, Maher is still pulling away, so I definitely think the saving early on is helping Philip Scott. The only wrench in his plan is that Tristan Maher is just on another level right now.
Yeah, he is. We're going to see what it's going to look like this time. Okay, well, maybe
Ooh.
Scott might just be onto something. Because remember that he did have a really fast lap on lap 67, but then lap 68, he kind of was still in the aftermath of kind of exiting that battle and getting past lap traffic. But lap 69, that was nice of him. He got 6 hundredths of a second faster than Maher. And then even better on lap 70, a whole 10th in the third. Lap 71, now it's starting to slow down, but let's take a look at lap 72. It's a little inconsistent, I'm not going to lie, but he is slowly making his way up there.
Yeah, he is just kind of clawing his way up there. The thing is, ooh, I don't know what just happened. It looks like he might have just gained 2 tenths. That timing and scoring shot up. It was 3.1, then it went down to 2.9. Now it's back to 3.2.
It might have just been a graphical issue.
Yeah. May have just been fluctuating on the timing and scoring, but yeah, we're seeing more green on this Christmas tree than red at this point. Philip Scott is, hundredths of a second at a time reeling that leader in. The question now is, how much time does he have before the pit sequence? And
all right, something maybe happened to Maher. Sorry, yeah, to Maher.
Given that we are getting to the point where we're going to be pitting, and we know that Philip Scott is pretty good at conserving his tires, does he maybe try to take the undercut gain a little bit of time in the short run and then just go into conserve mode for the long run. We'll have to see. 2.79 seconds now. As yeah, okay, 2.68. I'm looking at like 3 pixels that are supposed to represent 3 numbers, so I apologize if I get the timing wrong at any point. But yeah, he is slowly reeling them in, and obviously lap traffic is going to be a part of it. But look at this battle, top of the 3-wide TV multicam. Stan Hausman has a front row seat to a door banger in front of him, and I've said that jokingly, but maybe literally now as they are weaving down the straightaway. And it looks like they're going to get it sorted out, but man, oh man, this track is putting on some awesome battles so far tonight. Looks like we have somebody coming down pit road already. There's a red truck. Doug Neal, okay, maybe getting some damage fixed on that 77. We know he's still numerous laps down from that first incident. Adam Newton now trying to work his way around the number 8. Newton's a name we haven't really said much tonight, but he has worked his way up the running order, 4 spots up from where he qualified. Not bad. It's quite a few cars past at a track that seems to be pretty difficult to pass, and he is actually going to take 3rd place from Martin Blute. A lot of long run speed out of that number 29. And in front of them, while we've been doing that, bottom of your 3-wide TV multicam, second, oh no, sorry, incorrect. The bottom of the multicam is the onboard with Martin Blute. But up front, 2.3 seconds separates Maher and Scott now, so it's starting to close up. That gap is really shrinking, and he's got about, if they're going to split it in half, 20 more laps to get up there to him. This is shaping up to be pretty interesting, Carlos.
Yeah, I can't wait to see if Scott can get there before any of these leaders have to go down pit road to get tires and fuel. And then the next question is, what can Scott do to make this strategy work even better? Because we see he lost time to Maher and Blute, and yes, he is gaining on them now. But you know, if it's gonna take him more than 20 laps, unless something changes, it's gonna take him more than 20 laps to clear all that time and get past Maher or even get to him. So can he do this in a shorter amount of time for this next 100 set of laps, barring there's no caution? Because he's got the strategy, he just needs to get the timing down right.
Yeah, timing is going to be crucial. I also want to point out, and I just noticed in all the action, we haven't really mentioned it. You may notice Julian Tesoro is not in this race. Now, he was supposed to have a fill-in driver for the night. I guess Julian is feeling a little bit under the weather. He was unable to compete, and I guess his fill-in did not show up for the green flag. So it's going to be a big points hit to Julian, but Julian, if you're watching this live or if you watch it recorded at any point, just want to say we wish you a quick recovery. Hopefully things are going all right for you, and hopefully you're back in that truck as quick as you can be, get some points made up, and you can have a good playoffs. We're thinking about you here in the 3-wide TV booth. Never like to see any of our drivers absent under these conditions, but again, we wish you a speedy recovery. Speaking of speed, Carlos, 1.8 seconds now. So since I've been talking, he just reeled in another 4/10. Philip Scott is rolling right now, and Maher's got to be thinking, what do I do? How do I keep this guy behind me? Because at this point, it's tenths of a second a lap.
Let's take a look and see just how much he is gaining per lap. Since you're mentioning, we'll call it tenths of a second, but it's been actually, you know what? I would say overall, it kind of has been a tenth of a second. He's got lap traffic now, so that's even more to compete with.
Yeah, wow. That's probably going to slow him down a little bit, down to 1.6, down about 1.5 now. So another 10th gained on lap 90, just chipping away at it with the help of the lap traffic. And I'm surprised it's taken this long to really get into a lot of lap traffic. Obviously, they've had a few cars they've had to get around, but everybody is so equally paced that you know, you're not getting into a car every single lap. You're not constantly trying to shove your way through the field, and that's probably a good thing for these leaders as they can kind of focus on hitting their marks. But either way, Philip Scott again, last time by 0.1 seconds, just
look at those fresh tires in the red and black truck of Neil right in front. Man, be gone.
That is the difference, man. Oh man, he's glued to that track compared to these guys.
Remember, it is a short track. You're going to lose a lot of time going down pit road. Neil is 8 laps down. He was not I think it was like maybe 1 or 2 laps down when he went down pit road. Now he's 7, and probably within about the next 10, 15 laps, if these guys do not go down pit road, which you know they will, he'll probably lap himself again or unlap himself again. But yeah, Maher's just been running. I should say Scott's been running Maher down this whole time, with the exception of right now in lap 94. As we see Bradley pointing out, saying that Adam of Newton tends to have some genuinely great long run speed. And let's see if we can stretch this here just a little bit to include Newton. And wow, we're all singing the praises of Scott. And then Newton's over here running both of them down like there's a huge sale on like he's a kid and there's a huge sale in the candy store.
Yeah, he is flying right now. Not just a tenth of a second here or there. 0.3 of a second on lap 93. Almost 0.3 of a second on lap 95.
Did it this time.
And 3.3 on 97. Philip Scott is less than a second behind our leader, but Adam Newton is right on the bumper of Philip Scott now. So he has just been quietly working his way towards the front. And depending on when these guys come down pit road, we've got a 3-car battle for the lead brewing if they stay out much longer, because they are just closing in on one another. It's like a slinky just closing in on itself here, as we do have somebody down pit road. It's the yellow truck. Is that
Travis? Travis White and Stan Houseman have each gone down pit road this time by, and this is what I'm talking about. They're really long. They have to go from the backstretch pit road all the way across turns 3 and 4, and then all the way down to their stall in the front stretch pit road.
Speaking of Stan Hausman, I apologize. Normally, Peter's in the booth, and he's got all the sponsor reads, and that's kind of his area. But I will give a shout-out to Beer Street Journal, the sponsor on that number 39 truck. If you want to check out all the latest craft beer news, releases, rumors, things like that, check out Beer Street Journal, and they have pretty much everything you're going to need. It's your one-stop shop for craft beer info. As Martin Clute in the number 8 is working his way out of pit road, and he is just, oh man, that blue line, Carlos, I tell you what, it is got to be painful for these guys to have to go all the way around. And I got to say, I like the old version better, where you could just come down whatever pit road you were assigned to, and it was short, simple. Now you just got to do this agonizing drive around the track. You're going, I believe pit road speed is 40 miles an hour, 45. Either way, it is incredibly slow, and you got to go all the way around.
And iRacing kind of stops their counting of pit stalls when they go from of pit road time when they go from one pit road to the other. So I'm not actually getting the full amount of time that they're down in pit road, but it looks like 54 seconds for one set of the actually no, excuse me, no, that is correct. It's about 54. It's about a minute for them to go down pit road and all the way through and then leave.
Man, oh man. So okay, hold on. Let me do some quick maths here. So you said 54 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if they're running 15-second lap times, 54 divided by 15 is 3.6. So they're going to be losing about 4 laps on pit road to the guys that are staying out. If a caution were to come out right now, when we've got half the field numerous laps down, that's basically half the field with no hope of improving their running order. I mean, they're just trapped there permanently. That is why you're seeing this long run speed. And that's why you're seeing these guys prioritize saving their tires, going as far as they can on a tank of fuel, and as far as they can on a set of Goodyears, because nobody wants to be that guy that comes down pit road just 1 lap too early, and then like NASCAR Thunder 2004, Ward Burton pulls into his pit stall, game throws a caution automatically, and then you're trapped. Nothing you can do. So that's why these guys like Adam Newton are staying out so long.
I'm not going to verify if your math is correct. I'm just going to assume it is. But pretty much the majority of the field is going down pit road. Justin White, Adam Newton, Philip Scott has gone down pit road. Jeff Price is down pit road. Travis White has just left pit road. Current race leader Nate Maurer down pit road. That's probably going to put Dominic Tesoro on the lead point for now.
So if the math was incorrect, you can take up your complaints with Bill Gates. I was using the calculator on my computer, so I would hope Bill Gates knows math. But I mean, you never know with Bill Gates. He's been doing some weird stuff lately, like buying up random giant plots of land in flyover states with no explanation. So you know, maybe don't trust his calculators too much. But 3.6 laps, give or take. And that is, again, a lot of time losses. You can see Nate Maurer, and he cut it close on that pit stop there. His splitter is on the pit box line. He was about an inch further forward. I think he'd had to throw it in reverse.
It's always embarrassing to do, especially when it's on a broadcast and they are focusing on you at the moment.
Yeah, I call that the Cam Stone maneuver. As we got a few trucks working their way through this agonizing drive. Here comes Dominic Tesoro in the 69. He's going to be getting that truck serviced, and gotta say, I'm surprised how far they were able to go. I was thinking with 70% fuel capacity, 100 laps would be stretching it, even if you were saving. But no, lap 114, Dominic comes down pit road, and we did have that one yellow flag where they were able to conserve a little bit of fuel. But even with that caution, that is still pretty impressive, and I think none of these guys that have pitted really have to worry about fuel to the end of the race, just tires. And
no, I need to point something out. Maher is 2 laps down. Everybody's gone down pit road at this point. Maher must have had a penalty, and
that is possible.
Yeah, that's put him 2 laps down. Something must have happened to him, because I mean, it probably should have been more. Doug Neal, Bradley hopping on chat saying, asking what happened to Doug Neal. Doug Neal was involved in the first lap incident, and I do believe his car is somewhat damaged, although I guess it doesn't look that way now. He did get himself a lap down, and then since then he's kind of been losing a lap because of a lack of pace. So as to whether the lack of pace was from not being able to figure out the truck as quickly as some of the other guys have, and or because it's because of race damage, I don't know. But that's why he's currently finding himself 4 laps down. So Maher was contending for the lead. Plute's back up to the lead by 5.5 seconds over Scott. And then we were looking at Adam Newton's really long run speed, really good long run speed, and he's lost a lot of time. I don't think he can make this up, considering the fact that we're not even going to go 100 laps like initially I thought we were going to do. And thank you, Bradley. You know what? You're also doing a great job for tuning in here and just watching this, watching these guys go. I know it means a lot to them to see that there are people committed to just watching them go around and have some fun. So thank you so much for watching.
Speaking of Doug Neal, I just want to give a shout out to the title sponsor of the race and the sponsor on the 77, Simbox. If you need a button box for iRacing, I don't think there's a better source to hit up than Simbox. You might be asking, why do I need a button box? Well, on iRacing, there's a lot of things you can do in this car, a lot of things that you can change, everything from your brake bias to, if you're in a GT car, things like your ABS, your traction control, your spoiler angle, all kinds of things. You're going to be flipping through the black boxes, trying to see what your fuel mileage is, trying to see what your tire wear is. And the more buttons you have at your disposal, the quicker and easier you can navigate through your menus. Heck, if I had a Simbox about a year ago, I wouldn't have wrecked myself out of the Nostalgia 300. I reached over to hit my key over my wheel, bumped the steering wheel as I was reaching for the keyboard, and then immediately put myself in the wall under caution. So if you want to spare yourself of that fate, hit up Simbox. They're gonna do you right. They're gonna get you a great product, and you're gonna have a better iRacing experience. But we are on lap 126 here at Bristol. We've only got 74 laps to go here. Not a whole lot of racing left. This race is flying by, Carlo.
Remember a couple laps ago, I say this as I'm covered in sweat. Plute had a 5.5 second lead.
You're going.
So I don't know. So some things. Wow, good, great Scott! Look at that.
Literally, great Scott. Yeah, he's on the move. He's got slightly fresher tires than Martin Plute. I think he came in a lap or two later, so just has that little bit of an advantage now.
It shouldn't be that much. Still, it shouldn't be that much.
Well, hey, you'd be surprised. Like I said, this track is eating tires, and 7 laps is enough to have a bit of an effect, as we can see clearly. Philip Scott reeling them in. But again, it's just been this.
I got a
Go
bone to
ahead.
pick with RC Plains 59 who got in the chat. By the way, thank you for being a pit crew member. Philip, he's saying that Philip is very good at race car driving. Yeah, I'm sure he is, but this is crazy.
Yeah, 4/10 last time by. That's half a second. That's pretty crazy at a track where we're only running 15-second lap times.
And yes, I know that the 8 is also kind of having to maneuver through traffic, but so is Scott. It's wow, that's Scott is on it right now.
Oh yeah, he's booking it, and it definitely seems like he's not as concerned with saving as he was initially. I mean, even with 7 lap pressure tires, if he was conserving, he would not be reeling in Martin Schlut. So I gotta wonder if maybe he's just changing it up. I can't imagine he's really conserving that much with how fast he's been. White in the number 23 is not far behind Philip Scott, and Stan Hausman up in 4th. I mean, this top 5 really got shaken up by that pit sequence, especially with 17 having that penalty, I would assume a speeding penalty. So, I don't know, this is really interesting, and I think, again, we're going to see the situation that we saw last stint, where they're going to close in on each other and just kind of creep towards one another as the stage goes on. But what I'm curious about is what kind of long run speed is Philip Scott going to have, because if he's pushing the truck this hard now, you gotta think there's going to be an effect later as we're on board with the 23. You can see the 17 just trying to unlap himself, make up some time here, do what he can, but unfortunately for Maher, he's going to be waiting on some cautions. Dominic Tesoro is the first car lap down. So if we were to get a yellow flag right now, he would be the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award recipient, as he stayed out a lot longer than everybody else and just lost that lap legitimately on track, driving on old tires. And from there, Maher would need 2 more cautions, which, again, if things keep going the way they're going, I don't really see that happening. If we focus in on this Beer Street Journal number 39, a little bit of damage to the front of that truck. Seems to be decently on pace, though. Here's the 29. Now, this is another truck to watch long run, as we saw last stint there. Carlos, he had the best long run speed out of anybody, I think. And now, well, he's got a bit of an uphill battle. He is 9 seconds back, but if that long run pace kicks in anytime soon, he may have a shot.
Maybe. Traffic will really need to play a part for his competitors or not for him. He's kind of been stuck around that 9-10 second area since he merged back up onto the track and everything started to settle down. So it hasn't really been smooth sailing for the 29 since he was gonna essentially be contending for the lead there very late into that run. But as I mentioned earlier, it's not going to be as long as that first stint. It's going to be less laps here, and it's a further separation from that first half. I just don't think it's going to work out. He's going to need a caution, and preferably now compared to later. That way he can kind of get a somewhat lengthy run to kind of get him an advantage and try to stay there with the other drivers. So it's going to be a little difficult for him.
Absolutely, and as the trucks are all separated for the moment, and really not too many huge battles going on, I do also want to give a shout out to the title sponsor of the league, the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast. I believe there is a link in the description to their Podbean. Sports season is in full swing. Football has begun, and I know that's one of the most popular sports in the country, and I know there's a lot of you watching at home that probably watch football and probably have opinions about football, and maybe, just maybe, going out on a limb, you want to hear other people's opinions about football. Well, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast, they kind of specialize in that kind of thing, but not just football. They'll talk about any kind of sport under the sun. That's what they do. And, podcasts, if you're just doing things during the day, if you're working around the house, doing whatever, maybe you're in a long race on iRacing here at Bristol and you just want something to entertain yourself, nothing better than the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast to keep yourself occupied, maybe get yourself educated on some sports and have a good time. So again, big shout out to them for being the title sponsor to the league. And I know, again, I'm not very good at these sponsor reads because I'm not actually reading anything. I'm just kind of going off the cuff. This is Peter's area of expertise typically, but we're trying to do you right if you're a sponsor to the league, is number 39 still kind of dropping back from the leader, but I think he is actually closing in on White in the number 23. If we can maybe pull up the timing and scoring, I think this gap is starting to come to
Un
an
momento,
end
por
here.
favor. Look at that.
Oh yeah, Stan Hausman is reeling him in little by little. That Beer Street Journal truck is hunting for a podium, going on board with him, and again, you can kind of see the line that they're running. Looks like Hausman's kind of preferring the mid to high lane, not quite all the way up, but definitely not running the bottom, and it seems to be working out pretty well for him as he is approaching a lap truck. That is the only truck between him and third place, which you can see just off in the distance there. Now, the lap truck and third place are both running a slightly higher line than Hausman. Gotta wonder if maybe they're not cooking their tires a little bit too quick, and that's why he's reeling them in. But it's been a good race for the 39 truck. Started out a little bit slow, but he's just been getting better and better as the night has progressed.
That's going to hurt him.
Yeah, that wasn't the most optimal time to reach a lap car. That definitely held him back a little bit. But now clean track. Let's see. This lap's going to be a little bit marred as well because he did lose some momentum coming to the line. But after he crosses the line this time, he'll have clean track. We'll see where that gap goes and what happens as the 23, again, just running that slightly higher line. Here's Martin Ploot working his way around the bottom of the track, running down low.
Isn't that far away, dude?
Yeah, Philip Scott, 1.2 seconds now. So it was hovering around 3 seconds last time we checked in, and now it's down to 1.2. So again, that long run speed, and look at that, still 0.2 of a second faster on average. 1/10 here, 2/10 there, 2/10 there, another 10th on 154. Just reeling them in as Martin Ploot is trying to get around a lap truck on the bottom. I believe, is that Maher who he just relapped?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So that is Maher.
No.
No. That's Vinny Valvano. But again, 2/10 on the lap where they both had to work their way around Valvano. Still gained 0.08 of a second. That is not jump change. So even them both navigating traffic, he is a little bit quicker. Now, these guys don't have to worry at all about third place. I mean, they are nearly 10 seconds ahead of the next car behind. They are kind of in a league of their own at this point. And man, oh man, 0.7 of a second now. I mean, it is just diminishing lap after lap. Coming to the line this time, it's going to be 0.68 seconds. And again, Martin Ploot running that low line, which may be slower now, but I got to think it's got to be maybe saving those tires for later. At least I would hope it is, if I'm the driver in the number 8, because you didn't have the short run speed. You got to hope you got that long run speed. Otherwise, Philip Scott is on the move. And going back to the number 23, well, he has found himself in a bit of a battle here.
He's struggling.
He kind of falling back as Dominic Tesoro, who is one lap down, not for position, is able to get around him. And it looked like Jeff Price was just ahead of him there as well. Yeah, just kind of dropping. You're right, Carlos. He is really off pace. Here comes number 2,
the
Justin
23
White.
has been struggling whenever anybody is on his inside. He just can't seem to get the exit he wants. It gets really tight and has to back off the throttle, and then just loses a lot of time on the exit of the corner. This time by, it actually wasn't that bad, but there's been 2 times in a row where he's either almost hit the wall exiting the corner or had to get out of the outside line so quickly he almost hit the driver on the inside.
And he is going to concede 2 positions there as Justin White made the pass. The 971 followed in suit there. Got around him as well. But here's the battle for the lead. We're on board with Philip Scott, and he is on the prowl. He is still, on average, quicker than our leader. Last time by, he lost about 1/10, but again, I think
he had
being
to
in the dirty air
he had to let that teal machine go by.
Yeah, he has had a little bit fresher tires, had to let him go by, and lost a little bit of time. But then the last time by, he's right back to being 1/10 of a second quicker. 0.48 seconds now. Trying to work his way into 1 and 2. And this is interesting. We saw Martin Ploot really tied down to the bottom. That's where he's been running pretty much since he come out of pit road. Now that he's got Philip Scott, he's kind of searching around the track. You saw him run the high line half a lap ago. Right there, he ran the bottom. What's he going to do here? Well, he's going to run the high line again, just trying to maybe take Philip's line away from him, put him in dirty air, and just try to find some extra speed on the track to keep him at bay. Philip Scott sticking to that high line, kind of driving down the banking, getting a little bit lower on corner exit. Now down to the very bottom of the track. Not going to be able to make the pass, but he is within striking distance now. There's a lot of lap traffic ahead too. I think I just saw 3 cars in a line, so they're going to have to keep those guys in mind and factor them into the equation. Again, the 8 moving to the high line, just trying his best to put this 99 in dirty air. Stan Hausman goes to the top of the track, gives the leaders the bottom, so let's go on by. So that's going to make Stan Hausman the provisional Brookstone Animal Hospital's Lucky Dog Award, should we get a yellow flag.
Yeah, trying to get past Hausman really hurt the 99 of Philip Scott there. Doesn't really... Actually, you can actually see how it hurt him. He was running 600 of a second up to 1/10 of a second faster, and then that last lap he was only 1/100th of a second faster. Of course, in lap 170. Once you get close enough to the driver, you can't really get past them because then they're kind of in the way, and that's where you're seeing some lost time. But then when he kind of pulls back a little bit and is able to kind of get some momentum going back to him, we see him start to get faster lap times. But this is what the 8 needs to do. Martin Plute needs to be able to prevent the 99 of Philip Scott from getting past him in however clean way he can. And the best way for him to do that is to just take that outside line. You were mentioning how Plute's go-to is his inside line, but if he's there and he's losing time, then yeah, he needs to do something different. And he's doing something different. As we got 3 wide here, 3 wide TV, 2 for the lead and 1 to get out of the way. As that didn't really work out for Plute too much, but he's able to hold on for a bit now.
Yeah, that could have gone a number of ways when they went 3 wide. A big send down to the bottom. Look at that. Really diving it down in there. He's going to have to slide back up the track a little bit. We've seen this before. It's so tough to pass for the lead here. You have to almost wait for the leader to make a mistake. It's almost like you either have to move him or wait for him to move himself. But just making an outright clean overtake when you're this close in pace, it's not easy. And so he's just doing everything he can, really diving it down in there. You can see really aggressive entries, way more aggressive than what we saw before, but it's not enough. Every time they get to corner exit, number 8 is able to pull back away using that highline momentum. And unfortunately, they kind of work their way through all of the lap traffic. There is 1 truck in front of them that they'll probably reach within the next 2 or 3 laps, but for the most part, the majority of the traffic has been conquered, and now they're left to race amongst themselves. So Philip Scott can't rely on that lap traffic to give him an opportunity to use them as a pick. It's just going to have to come down to outright paces. Man, oh man, I didn't even notice. We are so close to the end of this thing. 23 laps to go. It is down to the wire. Again, look at that entry, Carlos. I mean, he is entering the corner on the apron. That is insane.
And you can see that that's hurting him on the drive off. We know right now Scott is the faster driver in terms of the way the car's handling. Scott has the better handling car, the faster car right now, the faster truck. But he can't do anything because he needs that full space from the inside to the outside and the exit of the corner to be able to do what he has to do. But because Plute is holding onto that outside line, he can't carry that much speed on the exit of the corner, and he's losing so much time. So he's trying to dive it in there deep, maybe hoping he can scare off the 8 and possibly even get a dive bomb going for him. But it's just not working. He's losing a lot of time, as that was not good for Plute. And I'm sure Scott wished he didn't lose so much time, because then maybe he could have done something about that. But he has killed off pretty much all that time he's lost, as he's still trying to maneuver through that. I believe that's a 23 of white. Finally gets by him, but at this point he's kind of losing some time. But hey, look who's third and running them down.
Adam Newton, once again, the mad lad with that long run speed. He is flying right now. Only 5 seconds back. Last time we checked, third place was 10 seconds back. And right there you can see 2 tenths, another 2 tenths on the board. I mean, just moving. We'll see what this lap is going to be here. Another 2 tenths. I mean, just eating away at it. I don't know if it's going to be enough to get to him.
like, I'm not a hater, but with all the things that I was saying about that 29 and how he kind of lost too much time and that there's less of a run, I'm not going to argue if you call me a hater based on his strategy, because my God, has he caught back up. He's killed half the distance very recently, and he's just gaining time. The whole time that Martin Plute and Philip Scott are battling side by side with lap traffic involved and everything, that's just adding fuel to the fire for how quick Newton is approaching. And he can probably get there before this race is over, but I think he'll probably only have one shot at it. He'll have to get past Scott very quickly if he's going to be able to get this to work.
Yeah, 4.7 seconds now to Adam Newton from the leader. So that's going to put him about 4 seconds back from Philip Scott. And speaking of Philip Scott, I got to think he's feeling the effects of how aggressive he was driving. I asked the question earlier, is this hard driving early on going to kill that long run speed that he had in the first stint and kind of give the advantage to the other drivers around him? And well, I think it did. That truck, he's a little bit quicker last time by, but it's not going to be enough. I mean, hundredths of a second at this point, 12 to go. Not going to be enough. You're 0.6 of a second back. You got to start making up tenths, and you got to be real aggressive on the overtake, especially when you got Adam Newton still chipping away at it. 3.9 seconds now. Man, oh man, what a heartbreak for Philip Scott if his tires really are cooked after all that. He's been fighting so hard all night long. Now it just seems like the pace is leaving him when he needs it the most. But big props to Martin Plute for playing such good defense. Anytime you're in the lead and you got a guy behind you reeling you in tenths of a second at a time, and you see him in the mirror, he's getting bigger and bigger, your first instinct is to panic. You start pushing the car a little bit harder, and you start overdriving, and you start making mistakes. But Martin kept a cool head, and he played it exactly as he needed to play it. He changed up his line to make sure he put Philip Scott in dirty air, took that line away from him. And when Philip Scott got the run, he gave it to him. He let him take the bottom, said, hey, if you want to pass me, you can go down there, because he was confident that up top he was going to be able to hold onto that position and use that added momentum. Didn't have the fastest truck in the field for a few laps there, but definitely took his situation and used it perfectly. As Adam Newton now 2.8 seconds. I just don't think it's going to be enough. 7 to go in the race. 0.7 of a second between Plute and Scott.
I'm starting to agree. When Scott was battling Plute and they were kind of having to go, and Plute was having to go with a defensive line, and Scott just couldn't get the momentum going for him. If they were still doing that, I would have said, yeah, Newton's going to get there for sure. But now that Scott's kind of dying right now and just trying to hold on to that second place spot, I don't think he's going to be able. I don't think Newton's going to be able to get there to Plute. I think he'll probably get there to Scott and be able to pass him. But other than that, I don't think at this point Newton will probably get that win.
Yeah, I agree. It's a shame. If you gave Adam Newton like 20 more laps in this race, he's a favorite to win. But unfortunately, our scheduled distance is 200 laps, and we're not too keen on going past the scheduled distance. So it's going to be tough. He might get to Philip Scott. You're right. Philip Scott is now 1.3 seconds back from our leader. He has cooked his tires, and now the 29 is closing that gap consistently. Fastest truck on the track by far, that number 29. I mean, he is moving. He's got to get his truck around that number 17. Maher does not put up much of a fight. It is 2 to go for the Simbox 200. It's a battle for second. Oh boy. Philip Scott throwing a bit of a block there, but can he hold on to it for another lap and a half? Down to the bottom goes the 29. Contact.
White flag is out.
Side by side. The white flag is out. Martin Plute, our leader, uncontested at the moment.
Oh, no
Down
problem.
at the bottom. Yep, Adam Newton takes a position, and as that happens, here's our leader, Martin Plute. Race number 2 of the playoffs. He's going to take home the win for the Simbox 200 here at Bristol. And man, oh man, well-deserved victory. Like I said, just took the hand he was dealt and played it to perfection. As Adam Newton squeaks into second place there with that long run pace, 1.93 seconds, Carlos. If he had even 10 more laps,
he would have been there. 5 more laps.
Yeah, maybe. He was moving. But obviously, I'm sure behind the wheel, it's probably a little bit heartbreaking that you came so close. But I got to say, that was an impressive run, and second place is a pretty good reward to show for it. As here comes Martin Ploot to burn that truck to the ground, do some burnouts, do some celebrating. Got to do some burnouts here at Bristol. It's the Colosseum.
Gonna make it loud there for all the fans that tuned in tonight. Sold out crowd here at the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, and we got ourselves another nice, fun playoff race down in the books. Bristol's done, 3 races to go, and next week with Peter back in the booth, they're gonna be having some fun at Chicagoland for the Bonnie and Clyde's Grill and Sports Bar. Actually, don't see how many miles it's gonna be. It's going to be 134 laps, so I think that's going to be 200 miles. I'm not quite sure on that, but it's going to be another fun race here. Yeah, I gotta say, it's going to be it'll be pretty nice to see who's going to do good and what in points. Remember, coming into the night, Tristan Maher was your points leader by over 23 points. Then Tessera was second, Philip Scott third, Justin White fourth, Adam Newton in fifth. Nathan Moore finished sixth, qualified. Wow, excuse me. Was sixth in standings. Doug Neal in seventh. Vincent Valvano eighth. Stan Hausman ninth, and David Buell was 10th.
And just outside of the top 10, Vincent Valvano, John Flamion, Doug Neal, Robbie Clavey, Jeffrey Mathis, and Garrett Austin, who did not grid, although he did sign up for the race. He was unable to make it to the grid. So that is your final running order. And now, as number 8 is still doing some celebrating.
I was going over the standings going into the race.
Okay, finishing order. I was a little bit preoccupied there. I was kind of tabbed out, admittedly. But the finishing order: Martin Ploot takes the win. Adam Newton, Philip Scott, Nate Maurer with an impressive and quiet 4th place finish. Jeff Price P5, Justin White P6, and Travis White P7. Dominic Tesoro in 8th. Stan Hausman brings it home in 9th. Tristan Maher in 10th after a penalty. And man, oh man, one of the most dominant trucks of the night, and he has such a big penalty and no yellow flag to save him. If you would have told me that we were only going to have 1 yellow flag in this race, I'd have called you crazy. But man, this league just, it surprises you with how clean they can be. And to have 1 yellow flag, heartbreak for the 17, but pretty impressive from a spectator perspective. We're going to try to get some interviews lined up, 3rd through 1st as usual. We're just waiting for the drivers to pile on in here.
We sure had a very fun race to do. Usually Bristol can be a long one due to a lot of accidents or cautions in these sorts of ways. But yeah, you mentioned only 1 caution, and it was pretty much at the end of lap 1. And since then, it's been just clean racing the rest of the way. We've had a couple of drivers hit the wall, a couple of near mistakes, but really this has been a beautiful race to watch. Great. This is great for the drivers, great for the league owners, great for the sponsors, great for us. It's just a whole fantastic night for everybody here involved.
Absolutely. I'm pulling some of these drivers into the waiting room. One moment. Okay, I believe I have 3rd through 1st, so I'll go ahead and start with 3rd place, Philip Scott. One moment here. Again, normally this is Peter's area. 1 second. Philip Scott, you got a copy?
Yep.
Well, Philip, it is yet another podium. I'm losing count of how many podiums you've got this year because it seems like you're on there every single week. But you had a really good race tonight, and I think one of the things that made your race so impressive from just a spectator perspective was your long run speed. You seem to be doing a good job of conserving the car and keeping that car good in the long haul. Was that intentional? Was that your goal going out there, or just kind of a happy accident?
Yeah, definitely. The only issue was getting the pass done. All I was thinking about was the long run speed, and because that's how it was last time when we went here last season, and so I was really saving. So I did the same thing today, and then I was trying to save hard and try to get up to, but at the same time try to get up to Martin and get by him. but I guess he must have been saving hard enough because when I got to him, I just couldn't. I was just stalled out on the bottom, no momentum, and it was just so hard. I was trying, really frustrating. I may or may not have, after the checkered flag, bonked the wall out of frustration and got myself a 2x. So that might cost me 2 points, but whatever. It was, yeah. And then, of course, Adam was the best at long run speed all day. He had unreal long run speed. Like, he was like 10 seconds back and like gained it all back when he was like, it's go time. He just gained it all in like 20 laps. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really was pretty impressive to see those of you who were saving just the difference in pace at the end of a run. But you mentioned trying to make the pass for the lead. Is there anything looking back that you would have done differently, or was there just nothing you could do? I mean, it seemed like when you got to the bottom, the run just would stall out, and it didn't really matter how much faster you were.
Yeah, I think the thing I would have done differently is pit like 5 laps earlier, because then I'd have fresh enough, because I think I didn't, because I gave Martin too much of a gap to, like, undercut me, and I got out of the pits and he was 6 seconds ahead, and I'm like, oh, I'll just inch it closer and closer. But by the time I was babying my stuff and trying to get to him, then I wore out my own stuff, so then it was too hard to make the pass. And yeah, I think that's the one thing. I don't think I would have done anything different offensively, because Martin was going to be on the high side no matter what, so I had no choice but to just try to get a run and dive bomb him. But yeah.
Gotcha. Well, another good weekend. Like I said, another podium in a long line of podiums. Before we let you go, is there any shout outs that you'd like to make?
Yep, World Ninja League. Come check us out, worldninjaleague.org.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Philip, and good luck next week.
Yes, sir.
That is third place out of the booth. Now, Carlos, do you want to take second place, or you want me to grab him?
No, you can take him.
Okay. We're going to bring up second place Adam Newton. Mr. Newton, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Well, Adam, I think when it came to the long run speed, you were class of the field. You had Carlos and I with our jaws on the floor. I mean, at the end of that race, you're just clicking off 4/10 here, 5/10 there, like it was nothing. Really solid performance, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I planned for the long run, and I was just telling both the guys where my tires were at the end of the race. My rights were 83 even on both sides. And he said his was at 50, and I was like, I needed 3 more laps is what I needed. But it was a great run. Said good second place finish.
I know you should never ask a magician to reveal their secrets, but how, man? I mean, how did you save that much? That's crazy.
Can I take a quick guess? Can I take a quick guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
Steering ratio cranked all the way down, brake bias all the way down.
Absolutely no.
What?
I mean, it ain't a secret, I'll tell you. I mean, I ran 14-1, 60 on my brake bias, and yeah, that was it.
That is
great job, dude.
Yep.
Now, I gotta ask, is there anything you would have done differently with pit strategy to maybe try and get that second and a half you weren't able to quite get on track?
Yeah. The thing that really caught me off guard, and I don't know if y'all saw that right before pits, I caught and was trying to get around Philip in Bristol, but when he went to pit road, he didn't call out his pit, and that's what messed me up. So I know, by that time my pit road was already killed, so why not lead a lap or two and, get the 5 bonus points. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the big difference on that.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, that might have been all the difference. If you, I mean, that seems like a lot of time lost if you had to check up. That's unfortunate. But next week it is on to Chicagoland. How do you feel about some intermediate racing?
Same. Save tires. Chicagoland just burns up the right front. Same. I'll be slow as dirt at the beginning of the run, and I'll be fast as lightning at the end. That's
Yeah, I almost made that point. I was gonna say it is kind of like Bristol in that it kills your tires and the truck wants to get tight. So it may be right up your wheelhouse there.
yeah. I really like Chicagoland. I did good there in my other league race there, and um, I'll be all over the place, high, low, middle. Just depends on wherever everybody else is. The air makes a huge difference. But yeah, if they go out like a lightning bolt, I ain't gonna run them down. I'm gonna let them do their thing.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on second place. A phenomenal run. Before we let you go, is there any shout outs that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Justin for keeping the league going, and y'all for putting on the broadcast, and my teammates at Simbox Racing. They're a great group of guys to hang out with.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Adam, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Second place out of the booth, and now it is time to have a word with our race winner, Martin Plute. Let's see what he's got to say about this race. Mr. Plute, you got a copy?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
We're doing good, Martin, but I think you're doing a little bit better. Walking away with a checkered flag, a great performance. How you feeling?
Sore. Not used to pumping brakes that much in a race here, so that was an experience.
Yeah, using a lot of brakes, and it was a long race here at Bristol. And to make matters worse on the drivers, only one yellow flag, so pretty much the entire race under green, meaning you really didn't get a second to breathe or take a second to relax. It was kind of an endurance event there. Now, one thing I want to ask you about is at the end of the race, you had Philip Scott ticking away on that scoring pylon, getting closer and closer, and then once he got behind you, he kind of had to go into defense mode. How'd you keep him behind?
I was saving since the stop. I was just saving tires the entire time. Waited for him to get about half a second away from me, and then just took off. I thought he was gonna have me. I'm not very good at saving tires, but I looked back when he was caught me and he was running the top, which burns tires like no other. So I knew at that point it was good. He still had 10 lap pressure tires, so it was going to be tough. And then Adam coming at the end. Adam was, I don't know when he did, but he was on something. He was flying through there.
Yeah, he had some pretty good long run speed. One more moment that happened in this race that I wanted to ask you about was very early on. I think it was within the first 20 laps. You made a pass on the high side to get around Philip Scott, and then you immediately shifted down low to pass Maher. 2 positions in 1 lap, 2 different lanes. How were you able to work both lanes and kind of use the entirety of the track to your advantage?
That was probably the coolest moment. I felt real cool until about lap 40, and I realized I just burnt all my tires off. So it was them being smart. It wasn't me being fast. Yeah, I did not realize the top would eat tires as bad as it did, and everybody else knew that. So I'm the only idiot up there flying through, and it caught me at the end.
Well, joke's on them, though. They didn't win.
Fair enough.
Well, Martin, next week it is on to Chicagoland, and as Adam Newton pointed out in his interview, it's kind of a similar race in that Chicago eats up tires, and he thinks that conserving is going to be just as important there as it was here at Bristol. Are you looking forward to Chicagoland? Are you going to race that race? What's the plan?
I should be there. Hopefully I've missed all the races I'm gonna miss. Chicago, decent track. I'm not really good, contrary to what happened tonight. Not good at saving tires. So we'll see how that works out. Learn not to run the top, I guess. So we'll work on that, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on your win. Is there any shout-outs you'd like to make from Victory Lane here?
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for broadcasting as always. It's always good to go back and watch these. It's fun. Simbox for sponsoring the race. Beer Street Journal. Stay Tuned Sports, and obviously MaxGrafix for the beautiful truck here tonight.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Martin, and good luck next week.
Thanks. See you guys.
Race winner out of the booth, and it's always funny interviews like that, Carlos. You got this guy who's out here doing a phenomenal job all night long, and he gets in the booth. He's like, no, I wasn't doing that good. I wasn't that great. Like, man, you were flying. Yeah, but anyways, that is just about going to do it for our post-race coverage from here at Bristol. Again, this is where Peter would normally do the ad reads. I'm just going to go off of memory, the league sponsors here. If I missed you, I apologize. But of course, Simbox sponsoring the race and being a partner of the league. Again, if you need a button box, if you want to enhance your iRacing experience, hit up Simbox. Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award didn't get handed out tonight, but a big shout out to Brookstone Animal Hospital. And Beer Street Journal, again, for your one-stop shop for all craft beer news, hit up Beer Street Journal. And of course, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast, the title sponsor of the league. Link to their pod being in the description, I believe, where you'll be able to stay up to date with all sports news and discussion. And I believe that is most, if not all, of the league sponsors. Again, if I miss out on anybody, I apologize. But thank you to all of you at home for tuning in and watching this really fun race at Bristol. This was a great race, from my opinion. Any post-race thoughts here, Carlos?
A very rare, almost caution-free Bristol race. It's fantastic to see it every time, and it's fantastic racing by the 15 drivers who started tonight's race. It's a pleasure to see such high-quality, great racing all around here at a track like Bristol.
Agreed 100%. All right. Again, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week from Chicagoland right here on 3 Wide TV. Peter will be back, so you won't be stuck with me and Carlos. You'll have your regularly scheduled Peter back on the air here. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.